Unit 8 of the course traces developments in the Americas focusing on the period before the arrival of Columbus in 1492. It points out that after people crossed into the Americas some 18,000 to 20,000 years ago, likely across Beringia, they built complex societies in Mesoamerica, the Andes, and in North America. Chapter 10 in the textbook takes you through each of these regions to highlight important achievements. It also explains, to extent possible, why each culture evolved as it did. The chapter reminds us that cultures in the Americas had their own innovations. They built cities, supported very large populations, and founded impressive empires. The textbook chapter starts in Mesoamerica, the region that overlaps with present-day countries of Guatemala, Mexico, Belize, El Salvador, and eastern Honduras. Mesoamerica was the first region in the Americas where archaeologists found evidence of large settlements, agriculture, and unique cultural traditions. The region is ecologically and climatically diverse, with mountains, coastal plains, and a peninsular limestone platform in the Yucatan. Mesoamerica also extends into both tropical and subtropical climatic zones. People in Mesoamerica developed agriculture some 10,000 years ago, domesticating maize, squash, beans, and other plants. Over time, agriculture sustained larger populations, some of whom lived in settled communities and developed their own complex societies. The picture to the lower left portrays the use of chinapas, or floating gardens, to grow crops in lakes. Agricultural productivity, facilitated by these sorts of innovative techniques, supported the specialization of labor, social stratification, and the religious hierarchy evident at the Temple of Kukulkan in Mexico, which is shown at the top left. On the top right, the Dredsen Codex is a Mayan manuscript dated to the 13th or 14th century. Finally, on the lower right is the Stone of the Fifth Sun, sometimes called the Calendar Stone. Of Aztec origin, the Stone of the Fifth Sun records the creation of the Aztec eras and accounts for each one's downfall. The textbook provides more information on each of the civilizations in Mesoamerica. It accentuates a number of unique developments in each civilization and examines the elements shared across the wider region. Next, the textbook turns to the Andes and the first civilizations in South America. Like Mesoamerica, South America is a vast area with great diversity in geography and climate. In the picture of Machu Picchu, located on the bottom right of your screen, you can see how the Andes Mountains, which run through present-day Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile, dominate the western side of the continent. However, even within the mountain range, there is great diversity of terrain and climate as evidenced by the presence of volcanoes, deserts, forests, glaciers, and grasslands. The people of South America work to overcome the many of the challenges of these diverse environments. The textbook chapter traces the arrival of humans into the region about 12,000 years ago and the emergence of settlements with irrigated farming in Peru around 5,000 years ago. These settlements gave way to more permanent agricultural communities by the first millennium CE. We refer to the associated societies as Pacific Coast and Andine cultures. These cultures are well known for their large urban centers. They were the predecessors of the Incan Empire. The Incan Empire, which reached its height in the 15th through early 16th centuries, stretched its influence over vast stretches of territory connected by 25,000 miles of roads. Like some other cultures in the region, the Incas used the ALU system, a kinship-based system of community organization and religion to keep their empire strong. Your textbook also describes their other strengths, including their military and architectural accomplishments. In a third section, your textbook surveys North America. Although people inhabited North America before moving south, agriculture spread later into North America. Available evidence suggests that farming spread from Mesoamerica to North America, with people bringing maize, beans, and squash to North America in the 2nd millennium BCE. The textbook works through North American societies from west to east, highlighting several cultural areas, including the Chaco-Anasi people of New Mexico and the people of Great Plains in the eastern woodlands. Cahokia, across the Mississippi River from present-day St. Louis, was one center for mound-building peoples in the eastern United States. You may be familiar with other similar sites, such as the one at Ocmulgee in Macon, Georgia, shown in the picture above. Just as in Mesoamerica and South America, people in North America adapted to their diverse environments, developing urban centers, trade networks, and complex social and political orders. While some pre-Columbian societies, like the Maya, left written records, scholars often turn to other types of sources to gain further insight into the history of the Americas. Scholars can turn to oral tradition, like the Popol Vuh, the oral transmitted creation narrative of the Quiche people of Guatemala, monumental architecture, material culture, like artifacts and textiles, burial mounds, art, and other types of sources to learn about American societies. If your instructor assigns it, the Unit 8 discussion asks you to analyze artifacts and other sources to explore the Incan Empire, Cahokia, or Olmec society. Use the sources linked to the discussion to ask questions and draw some conclusions about life in one of these societies. In your discussion posts, push yourself to examine the links to artifacts, the landscape, burial practices, and the other resources. Think about the items you examine on multiple levels. For example, if possible, zoom in and out on objects. Contemplate how and why someone might have used them. Are they more ceremonial or everyday objects? What are they made out of? How long would it have taken them to make? What would they have felt like in someone's hands? Rough? Smooth? Heavy? What details are evident up close? What would the object have looked like from a distance, and who would have seen it? These are just a couple of hypothetical questions. The point is to deliberately stretch your analysis to consider each of your chosen items on multiple levels. Likewise, in your response, articulate what you can comfortably conclude from the available sources and where you have remaining questions. If your instructor assigns it, the Unit 8 paper assignment directs you to examine Mesoamerican systems of accumulating and sharing knowledge. The assignment proposes 2 questions and includes links to sources. Maybe you can appreciate the experience of the Aztec students as they navigated their compulsory education system.